A South LA neighborhood riddled with homeless encampments got a massive cleanup here today.
We've been reporting on some of these encampments along Avalon and Florence, where neighbors and businesses say it is dangerous, it's unsanitary as well. McCullough Medina was out there today as the crews got out there to clean up.
It is 4 o'clock in the morning in downtown Los Angeles. The city is suspended in that fragile, quiet hour between the fading of the nightlife and the rising of the morning commute. The streetlights cast long, amber shadows across the pavement of Skid Row. The air is cool, damp with the marine layer rolling in from the Pacific. For a moment, there is peace. Then, the silence shatters. First, you see the flashing lights blue and red, strobing against the brick walls of the warehouses. Then come the sirens, not wailing, but chirping in short, aggressive bursts. A convoy of white municipal vans and police cruisers rolls slowly down the street. Officers in tactical gear step out, adjusting their belts, their faces obscured by the shadows of their brims. They are not here to chase a fleeing suspect. They are not responding to a violent crime in progress. They are here for the tents. Move it or lose it. A voice booms over a loudspeaker. This area is being cleared for sanitation. You have 10 minutes. Inside the tents, there is panic. Zippers rip open. People scramble in the dark, their movement frantic and clumsy with sleep. A mother grabs a backpack, stuffing a teddy bear and a packet of baby wipes inside. An elderly man, his legs swollen from edema, struggles to put on his shoes. They are not fighting, they are fleeing. Within minutes, the sanitation crews move in. This is not a cleaning, it is a demolition. Tents are slashed with box cutters to ensure they cannot be reused. Sleeping bags, family photos, medication.
That's right, more than 20 cleanups here already. Business owners say once people are actually moved to shelters, they say new people move in.
And documents are tossed into the crushing maw of a garbage truck. The sound of crunching plastic and tearing fabric fills the air. This scene is not an isolated incident. It is not an anomaly. It is Tuesday in America in the year 2025. From the underpasses of New York City to the parks of San Francisco, from the heat-baked sidewalks of Phoenix to the alleys of Atlanta, a new policy has taken hold. It is no longer just about neglect. It is about active, aggressive removal. Cities are launching military-style operations to push the homeless out of sight. The objective is not to help them. The objective is to hide them. The message being sent by city halls across the nation is clear. You do not belong here. You do not exist. But where do they go? When the tents are gone, the people do not vanish into thin air. They scatter. They move to darker alleys, under deeper bridges, into the forests on the edge of town. They move away from the outreach workers who know their names. They move away from the clinics that provide their medicine. They move away from hope. In 2025, following the landmark Supreme Court ruling in Grants Pass versus Johnson, over 75 major American cities have passed or enforced laws banning sleeping in public. We are seeing a 10% increase in these ordinances compared to just last year. Fines for sitting on a sidewalk, arrests for using a blanket to stay warm, jail time for having nowhere else to go. This is not public safety. This is public erasure. Imagine a city as a mirror. When it polishes its surface, but ignores the cracks beneath, it doesn't become cleaner. It becomes dishonest. And the cost of this dishonesty is human life. Welcome to Homeless U.S. News. Today, we are not just reporting on the crisis, we are exposing the machinery behind it. We will take you inside the sweeps to show you what is really being thrown away. We will introduce you to the people, the teachers, the veterans, the nurses who are being treated like refuse. We will analyze the legal frameworks that have criminalized the act of survival. And we will ask the hard question, who profits when the most vulnerable among us are erased? This is the story of the rise of the sweeps.
All of the homeless have been just taking every space around the block.
The anatomy of a sweep, from cleanup to destruction. To understand the reality of a sweep, we must look past the press releases issued by city governments. Officials often use sanitized language. They call these operations cleanups, encampment resolutions, or care team deployments. They speak of restoring public space and addressing hygiene hazards. But on the ground, The reality is violent and chaotic. The process typically begins with a notice, a piece of paper stapled to a telephone pole or taped to a tent. By law in many jurisdictions, the city is supposed to give 24 or 72 hours notice. But in practice, these notices are often posted in obscure locations or ripped down by wind or weather. Many residents wake up to the sound of bulldozers, having no idea they were scheduled to be evicted. Consider the case of Tompkins Square Park in New York City. For decades, this park has been a refuge, but in the aggressive sweeps of late 24 and 25, witnesses reported police and sanitation workers arriving with overwhelming force. There were no social workers offering immediate housing keys. There were uniformed officers with zip ties. The most devastating aspect of a sweep is the destruction of property. To a housed person, a tent might look like trash. To an unhoused person, it is a bedroom, a closet, and a safety deposit box. We spoke to Maria, a former third-grade teacher in Atlanta. She lost her apartment after a rent hike that outpaced her salary. She is not an addict. She is not a criminal. She is a woman who fell through the cracks of the economy. I kept my life in a waterproof bin, Maria told us, her voice shaking. I had my teaching license. I had my children's birth certificates. I had the only photos I have left of my mother. During a sweep in Atlanta, police confiscated the bin. They categorized it as abandoned property because Maria had stepped away to use a restroom at a nearby gas station. When she returned, the truck was driving away. Without those papers, I can't prove who I am, she says. I can't apply for a job. I can't enroll my kids in school. I can't even get a library card. In 10 minutes, they didn't just take my stuff. They took my identity. They made me invisible. The U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development reports that in 2025, over 40% of unsheltered individuals have lost critical documents in sweeps. This creates what advocates call the erasure trap. Here is how the trap works. To get housing, you need an ID. To get an ID, you need a birth certificate and proof of residence. But if your birth certificate was thrown in a dumpster during a sweep and you have no residence, you cannot get the ID. Without the ID, you cannot get a job. Without a job, you cannot get housing. It is a perfect, closed loop of despair, and it is expensive. In 2024, Los Angeles spent over $80 million on encampment sweeps. That is $80 million spent to move people from one block to another, destroying their survival gear in the process, which forces them to scavenge or steal to replace it. It is a policy that burns money to create misery. This isn't an accident. It is a choice. When a city manager orders a sweep, they are prioritizing the visual aesthetics of a street over the survival of the human beings living on it. The faces behind the tents who is being purged. The narrative pushed by those who support aggressive sweeps is that encampments are filled with dangerous criminals and service-resistant drug addicts who refuse help. This narrative is a convenient lie. It allows society to disconnect from the suffering. It makes the sweep feel like a public safety measure rather than a human rights violation. But if you unzip the tents, who do you actually find? You find people like James. James is a veteran who served to tours in Iraq. He came home with a Purple Heart and a traumatic brain injury. The noise of a shelter, the shouting, the slamming doors triggers his PTSD. He sleeps in a tent because it is the only place he can control his environment. They tell me to go to a shelter, James says, standing next to the empty patch of dirt where his tent used to be. But the shelter feels like the barracks, but worse. I can't breathe in there. Out here, I'm cold, but I'm free. Or I was until they took my tent. You find people like Aisha. Aisha is a survivor of domestic violence. She fled her home with her two children to escape a husband who threatened to kill her. The family shelters where full wait lists are currently 6 months long in many major cities. So she bought a tent with her last $50. They threw away my daughter's drawings, Aisha told us, tears streaming down her face. She drew a picture of a house with a garden. She said it was our someday house. The sanitation guy looked right at me, crumpled it up, and threw it in the trash compactor. That was all she had left of hope. And you find the working poor. The National Homelessness Law Center reports that working professionals now make up nearly 30% of those affected by sweeps. Meet Lena. Lena is a nurse. She worked through the pandemic at Grady Memorial Hospital, saving lives while risking her own. She earns $33 an hour. By most standards, that is a decent wage. But Lena is a single mother of two, and her rent was raised by $600 a month last year. She couldn't pay. Now, Lena lives in her car or in a friend's garage when it's available. She keeps her nursing scrubs pressed and clean, hanging in the back seat. She showers at a gym before her shift. During a sweep of a parking lot where she was sleeping, police threatened to tow her car. They confiscated a plastic bin she had stored outside the vehicle to make room for her children to sleep. Inside that bin was her nursing license and her uniforms. "Without my license, I can't work," Lena says. "And without work, I can't get a home. It's a circle with no door. I save lives all day, but at night, the city treats me like I'm the disease." The trauma of these evictions is profound. Every sweep reinforces a single, devastating message: you don't matter. You are trash. And when a human being is treated like trash repeatedly, day after day, they start to believe it. The psychological erosion is the hidden cost of the sweeps. It breaks the spirit needed to climb back out of the hole. The legalization of exclusion, grants pass, and the law. The intensification of sweeps in 2025 didn't happen in a vacuum. It was empowered by a shift in the highest court of the land. For years, the legal precedent known as Martin v. Boise held that cities could not punish homeless people for sleeping outside if there were no shelter beds available. It was a basic protection. You cannot criminalize a biological necessity. If a person has nowhere to go, they must be allowed to sleep somewhere. But in June of 2024, the U.S. Supreme Court overturned this protection in the case of City of Grants Pass v. Johnson. The court ruled that cities can enforce bans on sleeping in public, even if shelters are full. This ruling was the starting gun. Almost immediately, cities across America began passing new, more draconian ordinances. Phoenix passed a law making it illegal to sleep within 500 feet of a school, park, or shelter, effectively zoning the homeless out of existence. Nashville police began issuing move-along orders with zero tolerance. In Las Vegas, an anti-camping law led to over 1,000 arrests in the first few months of enforcement. The cruelty of this legal landscape is breathtaking. Justice Sotomayor, in her dissent, called it a license to criminalize homelessness. Why are cities doing this? Why choose arrests over assistance? The answer, tragically, is often short-term economics and political optics. It is faster to arrest someone than to house them. Building a unit of permanent supportive housing takes years and costs hundreds of thousands of dollars. Arresting someone costs about $500 in processing fees. For a politician looking to clean up the streets before an election, the math favors the sweep. But this is false math, because the person arrested doesn't disappear. They go to jail for a few days. They accrue court fees they cannot pay. They are released, now with a criminal record that makes them ineligible for many jobs and housing programs. They return to the street, more desperate and less employable than before. In Maricopa County, Arizona, the courts processed over 500 urban camping cases in early 25. 90% resulted in fines the unhoused defendants could not pay. These unpaid fines turn into warrants. The warrants lead to more jail time. It is a debt trap disguised as law enforcement. We are building a permanent underclass, branded as criminals simply for the crime of poverty. The architecture of invisibility. The war on the homeless is not just fought with laws and police. It is fought with design. Walk through New York City, Philadelphia, or San Francisco in 2025 and look closely at the environment. You will see a city that has been engineered to be hostile to the human body. This is called hostile architecture. Look at the benches in the subway stations. They have been replaced by leaning bars, narrow slats of wood or metal that you can lean against, but cannot sit on and certainly cannot sleep on. Look at the window ledges of office buildings. They are studded with metal spikes or slanted at sharp angles so that no one can rest there. In Philadelphia, the vents that used to provide warm air from the subway to the street level have been graded over with heavy cages. In San Francisco, large boulders have been placed on sidewalks where tents used to be. These design choices send a silent, physical message: don't get comfortable. Keep moving. But keep moving to where? The urban heat island effect makes this hostility even more dangerous. In the scorching summers of 25, as temperatures in cities like Phoenix and Las Vegas hit record highs, the lack of shaded areas or places to sit becomes life-threatening. When you remove a bench from a park to prevent a homeless person from sleeping on it, you also remove a place for an elderly person to rest or a pregnant woman to sit. You degrade the public space for everyone in an attempt to exclude a few. Critics argue that this architecture solves nothing. It merely displaces the problem. If a person cannot sleep on a bench, they will sleep on the concrete. If they cannot sleep under an awning, they will sleep in a doorway. We spoke to Robert, a senior citizen who worked 40 years as a janitor, but now lives on the streets of Miami because his Social Security check cannot cover the rent. I tried to sit on a bench in the park the other day, Robert told us. It had these metal armrests right in the middle. I couldn't lay down. My legs were swelling up. I just needed an hour to rest my back. I sat on the ground instead, and then a cop told me I was loitering. Where is an old man supposed to rest his bones in this country? Who profits from the purge? If these sweeps and hostile designs are expensive and ineffective, why do they continue? To find the answer, we must follow the money. Sweeps are often driven by commerce. In downtown districts, business improvement districts, bids wield immense power. These are organizations funded by local businesses to maintain the area. In cities like Los Angeles and Seattle, bids pay for private security teams to patrol the streets. Their mandate is often to harass the homeless until they leave the zone visible to tourists and shoppers. Tech companies in San Francisco have lobbied for sweeps near their headquarters, citing employee safety. Real estate developers benefit directly. When an encampment is cleared, the land value of the adjacent properties can jump significantly overnight. The Urban Institute found that commercial property values increase by roughly 15% within 6 months of a major sweep. There's also a profit motive in the prison industrial complex. Private prison companies profit when beds are full. As cities criminalize homelessness, the pipeline from the sidewalk to the jail cell becomes a revenue stream for these corporations. Meanwhile, the non-profits that are actually trying to help are being squeezed. In some cities, feeding the homeless has become a crime. In 2025, Atlanta fined a church $50,000 for providing meals to unhoused people, citing zoning violations. Volunteers handing out water during heat waves have been threatened with arrest. The message from the system is chilling. Compassion is not welcome here, only control. The cost of criminalization vs. the promise of housing first. Is there another way? The tragedy of 25 is that we know the answer is yes. We have the data. Houston, Texas remains the premier example of a different path. For over a decade, Houston focused on the housing first model. They didn't demand sobriety or employment as a prerequisite for housing. They gave people a key, a bed, and a door that locks. Then, they provided the support services. Using this model, Houston reduced its homeless population by over 60%. They proved that housing is cheaper than handcuffs. The Urban Institute has found that every dollar invested in permanent supportive housing saves for dollars in emergency services, arrests, and hospitalizations. In 2025, Houston reported saving over $120 million in reduced police and hospital costs directly attributable to its housing program. However, even Houston is facing challenges in 25 as federal funding dries up. But the lesson remains: the solution works if you fund it. Contrast this with the treatment first or enforcement first models being pushed by groups like the Cicero Institute. which advocate for criminalizing street sleeping to force people into treatment. The data shows this fails. You cannot mandate recovery in a jail cell. You cannot treat trauma with a baton. Even internationally, we see the contrast. Finland, which adopted a national housing-first strategy, is the only country in Europe where homelessness has historically declined. Though recent budget cuts in 20-4/20-5 have caused a worrying uptick, proving again that funding is the lifeline. The choice is not between order and chaos. The choice is between expensive cruelty and cost-effective compassion. A call to see, because nitrogen monoxide one should be erased. So, here we are. The sun is setting on another day in America. In Los Angeles, the police vans have moved on. The clean sidewalk is empty for now. But in the shadows, the people are returning. They are laying down their cardboard. They are huddling together for warmth. When police slash a tent at dawn, they are not just destroying fabric. They are destroying dignity. When they toss a photo album into a dumpster, they are erasing memory. When they arrest someone for sleeping, they are criminalizing the most basic human need, survival. This is not public safety. It is public shame. And it is happening in your city, too. Maybe not with sirens and loudspeakers, but with silence, with turned backs, with the collective belief that if we don't look at them, they don't exist. But they do exist. Lena exists. She is still washing her scrubs in a gas station sink. James exists. He is still scanning the perimeter, waiting for the next threat. Maria exists. She is still trying to prove to a bureaucrat that she is a person, even without her papers. They haven't given up. So why should we? Their resilience is a mirror reflecting our failure, but also our potential. If they can survive the sweeps, the cold, and the cruelty, surely we can summon the political will to build them a home. So the next time you hear about a cleanup in your neighborhood, don't look away. Ask the hard questions. Where are they going? Who is helping them? Is this a solution, or is it just erasure? Support the organizations fighting back: the National Homelessness Law Center, the ACLU, your local housing first providers. Demand that your city fund housing, not handcuffs. And most importantly, do the one thing the system tells you not to do: see them. Look the person on the corner in the eye. Acknowledge their humanity, because no one should be erased just for being poor. If you take one thing from this video, let it be this: every time you choose to see someone the world has erased, you become part of the solution. Thank you for watching Homeless US News. Thank you for caring enough to witness the truth. Now, go out there. Be someone's witness. Be someone's miracle.